Things are dicey in the AFC North. Could there be changes? We'll break that down and a whole lot more today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long.
Joe, it's Friday. We made it. Happy Victory Friday to the Detroit Lions.
Hey, you know that, what's that meme or that video everybody posts with that guy dancing because it's Friday? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Whatever that guy is.
Well, he's out of the car, right? And he's walking out alongside the car. Yeah.
Yeah. When you said that, that's how I felt. I imagined you doing that. So
we made it to Friday.
We did.
I don't dance, but I hope it was good in your head, worth the payoff. You said it was a good submission of takes this week.
It is very good.
A robust submission of takes. It's difficult to narrow it down to a list of takes to fit on the show as well. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, the people showed up well. So we'll get into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's do the thing and go through the takes. Yeah, I've got no idea. I saw some of them, but I don't know what made the cut, what didn't.
Start with this one. This one from August. At least one current AFC North head coach will be coaching a new team in 2026.
I'm inclined to think this is, I would say yes to this. With Stefanski and his situation in Cleveland and Tomlin and the drum, like when you've got James Harrison and Ben Roethlisberger and guys coming out in season and you're like, they're tied for first place and everybody's still like, it might be time for a fresh start. Like, I think between those two situations, I would be inclined to say yes. There's also the Zach Taylor situation. I think Cincinnati's unique with the relationship with the head coach and ownership and having the excuse baked in for Joe Burrow's injury. And they're going to look up and they're going to see themselves in the standings and say, oh, well, if we didn't miss Joe for 2 months, we could have won the North this year. Like, I think that's baked in. So I would put them probably lower on the list of likelihood than I think you should based off the performance of the team, based off Cincinnati and that ownership group.
If you were to rank the AFC North head coaches in terms of most likely to be gone to least likely to be gone, would you stack it like this? Tomlin 1, Stefanski 2, Harbaugh 3, Taylor 4. Is Taylor the one that you feel like is the most likely to return?
I would say Harbaugh is probably the most likely to return.
Could you make a case it's Stefanski, Tomlin, then you get to Taylor and then Harbaugh?
The top two and the bottom two, however you want, and you have an argument for it.
Right, but they are the top two and the bottom two.
Yeah, I think so.
But ultimately, at least one's gone.
I'd say so.
Which is interesting because we talked off air yesterday about, it might be the Giants, the Titans, and the Raiders. Now we're talking about an AFC North team.
Yeah, well, and I think we get, I would say predictively we have 4 head coach hirings this offseason.
Well, that would be the 2 that exist, potentially the Raiders and one of these.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be it. All right. Find out soon enough. Phil says the Baltimore Ravens offering a 3-year contract extension at top 6 market APY, no less, to Mark Andrews is a type of sentimentality. Is that the right word? I think I said it right. New vocabulary for Joe. That is ultimately the team's downfall. The team's reluctance to make the tough calls and remaining loyal to players and staff past their peak or underperforming are why they continue to fall short in the biggest moment.
I don't know that I agree with this in the sense that I think it'd be different if it was edge rusher, wide receiver money, right? It's $13 million a season. It's in the grand scheme of NFL contracts, it's become a middle class contract, right? Is that fair to say?
Sure, but
It's
we don't
top
really
six for
do
tight
that.
end, but
Yeah,
it's middle class in the great. What wide receiver is getting paid? No, what did Diami Brown get in free agency this offseason relative to what you're paying Mark?
Is a $12.5 million a year receiver.
Okay, so like if I look at the money for the performance and the play at what you're asked to do, I actually think there's still surplus value there for Mark Andrews. The concern I have is you have a lot of other contract decisions that you need to make if you're Baltimore.
Yeah.
Right? You got Kyle Hamilton done. You have Roquan Smith as a big contract on the books. You've got Marlon Humphrey. You just did Ronnie Stanley. You're paying Rashad Bateman. You got to figure out Lamar Jackson. We need to figure out Tyler Linderbaum. There's some big dominoes that have to fall. If this ends up being prohibitive to getting any of that additional business done, I think that's where you can look at it and say, maybe we should have just tried to roll it back with Isaiah Likely and found a day 2 tight end in the draft.
I think there is some truth to being overly in love with your own. And this could be a situation with Mark Andrews as he's now on the other side of 30. You've made a commitment to him. I think Mark Andrews can continue to be a good player.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd love to kind of separate Mark Andrews from this overall idea, but I think you do need to know when it's done, right? Like they've ran their course with your organization. You've got great value and you don't have to continue with it. And I know those are tough decisions. But I think Baltimore generally does a pretty good job of, like not being overcommitted to retaining some players. So I think they play both sides of that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their recent track record with edge and guard as two positions in particular, where they keep the pipeline with rookie contract guys, and they really don't pay like top of market or big contract extensions in those two spots.
Yeah.
And that strategy has kept them very competitive. Obviously, they haven't had the big breakthrough, but there's lots of teams that have good process and great rosters that don't have the big breakthrough because there's only one team that's going to have the breakthrough every single year.
This is true.
So I was surprised that they did it. I think this guarantees, like there was some buzz that Isaiah Likely might get like the franchise tag, which I thought would have been goofy to do because he hasn't had a great season.
Right.
He was really good last year, but like, and then there was the broken foot in training camp. So you understand why, but he has 2 games this season. He's been back for like 2.5 months. He has 2 games with more than 20 receiving yards this season.
Yeah. It's not,
and then
hasn't gone the way he needed it to.
He had his best game of the year this past game, and he fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line and out of bounds and cost him a touchdown.
Yep.
So
Weekly Huddle says the Pittsburgh Steelers will be the most aggressive team in the upcoming draft when it comes to spots moved up to select a quarterback.
No, I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think this team needs a lot of contracts to even out a lot of their spending this offseason. I think they've also got a lot of holes because they've got a lot of short-term fixes on their roster right now. We're at the point where, we're acquiring Jalen Ramsey and paying him money, and now he plays free safety to go with the other 5 safeties that we signed in season to play safety for us. And we've got Darius Slay, and he's out, but we're signing Asante Samuel Jr. off the street in November to the practice squad, and now he's got a 53 spot. Like, that's just the secondary. You think about some of the guys up front and the big money contract to TJ Watt. What's Nick Herbig's contract situation?
He's due.
Is he a free agent this offseason?
No, I think he's got a couple more. I think he might be in his 3rd year.
I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, so he's got next year under contract. But he might be a guy that ends up shaking loose and being a productive player elsewhere.
Yeah, I like Herbig a ton. Yes.
Kind of reminds me of like Andrew Van Ginkel, like early Dolphins, Andrew Van Ginkel type player.
Yeah, he's good.
Freaky
athlete too.
Mm-hmm. So I get they need the quarterback situation, but like you've kind of seen this song and dance, And we've had chances, right? Like we just watched Jackson Dart go in the 20s for a team that traded up. It happens every year where there's I just don't think that they're going to get from 16 up to the top 3 to draft one of the top 2 quarterbacks this year. I just don't see that.
I don't see it, and I don't think they should either. I think this is unfortunately another year coming up for Pittsburgh where you're probably rolling the dice with something like Geno Smith or Kyler Murray or something like that, to be honest.
I'd probably like Geno for them.
Might not be a bad idea. DK knows about catching passes from him. All right. There's a take coming up about trucks and trailers that I big time disagree with. So we'll talk about that here next, folks. Be sure to stick with us. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's why making live bets with FanDuel is so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a big turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. They have live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. And you can bet on the next touchdown score, drive result totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, Lucas says this: the tractor and trailer conversation is muddled. The lines are completely blurred in 2025. What are the splits of Justin Herbert with and without Joe Alt on the field? Widely considered a trailer. Wouldn't the team have to thrive even without Alt on the field? Allen is limited too, if I may. Lucas just highlighted 2 8-4 football teams. And of course, everything isn't going to be exactly the same when you are missing key pieces, like a Joe Alt, like a Dalton Kincaid. But the trucks help as evidence. Put a non-truck quarterback on the Bills or Chargers, and let's see what the Bills and Chargers record is. I think the Bengals are a great example of this. They're 3-0 this year when Joe Burrow starts. They're 1-8 with Joe Flacco or Jake Browning. There are teams where the quarterback doesn't matter as much. Look at the 49ers. They seem to be okay if Mac Jones goes or Brock Purdy goes. But I don't see the logic here. Those teams, if they didn't have Herbert or Allen, they might be 4-8. And I also think it's worth pointing out that Lucas is a Dolphins fan. And so, of course, Herbert and Allen would be the 2 quarterbacks he chooses to highlight.
Oh, snap. I think when it comes to measuring quarterback performance, I think it's very difficult to use just a metric here or a metric there. And I'll use an example of like who was the name who gave this take?
Lucas. Okay, so I'm going to use an example that I think Lucas can probably uniquely identify with because I'm going to use like a Tua Tagovailoa issue here. You're an opposing defensive coordinator, and you go into a game plan to play against Tua Tagovailoa. What is your pass rush plan going to consist of in that game? Quick pressure, right? Do you have to worry about various launch points? Or do you have a singular spot within the pocket that you know you're going to be able to attack and it's going to disrupt the timing of the play and the throwing windows? More times than often, yes, that's true. Right. So Tua offsets a lot of pressure by being quick with his decision-making. Maybe not as much this year, right? The time to throws up a little bit. You know, the decision-making is not quite as good. The accuracy is not quite there. But so the body of work, though, is the ball's going to be out in under 2.5 seconds. So the way that you approach, are you going to blitz him? Tua? Yeah. Well, if I can get there quick, if I can get some free runways.
If you can get some free runways there,
Yeah.
but and historically it's been like, well, the ball's out in 2.3 seconds. So like,
Right.
even if you're blitzing, you're just taking guys out to create more stress on the back end with these speed receivers.
Muddy up the coverage, right? Make him hold the ball and play deeper in the snap.
Clog the throwing windows, force him to hold the ball, and then you have a very static and small area to rush the passer into versus rushing against any big-bodied athletic quarterback. Don't get too far upfield, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get too far upfield and he steps up, whether it's out the B gap or he gets out the side of the pocket. Now he's on the run. Now there's a whole bunch of extra stress, right? So as much as I think the quick trigger thing is a plus for that quarterback, it doesn't force opposing defenses to prepare for outside of the pocket, or it makes it almost easier for you to set a rush plan because you know where he's going to be to attack as a pass rusher, right? That's a truck versus trailer thing. The guys that can create more things for you to prepare for, I think, is a better example of identifying trucks and trailers than it is what their EPA per drop back is with or without a player on the field.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. But like even the best quarterbacks in the world, man, when they don't have key players, they're not going to be as good, but they give you a better chance. I think about this. I had a conversation with Ben Volen, whatever Patriots outlet he writes for.
Yeah.
We were talking about
what was this?
It was a couple years ago. We're talking about a Bills Patriots game where there was some pending weather, and he's like, it was Mac Jones versus Josh Allen. And he's like, he goes, Patriots fans should want all the bad weather they could get because it makes Josh Allen worse. Okay. But it also makes Mac Jones a lot worse. And the starting points are a lot different. So if it takes Josh Allen from elite quarterback to pretty good quarterback, and it takes Mac Jones from pretty good quarterback to terrible quarterback, which one is better? You still want the guy that gives you more.
Right.
Even when the variables around them are different, they're still going to elevate. It's not going to be perfect without key ingredients that are supposed to be there. But this, I don't know, man. Like,
I think trucks and trailers, I think is a subjective assessment based on the size of the menu it gives you on any given game for what to prepare for and what they're capable of and ways they can beat you.
The great Sam Teets says, outside of running back, the scariest position in the NFL to give a player a second contract to is cornerback. There's so much volatility year to year, and injury concerns seem to stack at cornerback more than on the offensive side of the ball.
I think it's just the shelf life, right? Like a lot of times a corner's best season in the NFL is behind them by the time they turn 29.
Yeah.
So you better be 20 years old coming in the league. You want to get a big second contract, right? Because if you're Jahdae Barrett's a bad example because he's primarily a nickel, right? But like he was a 24-year-old rookie this year on a first-round contract. He's going to hit the fifth-year option at 29, right? Like what's that second contract look like for Jahdae Barrett? And it's different because he's a nickel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the runway of success into your early 30s has to be a big-time conversation piece for second contracts and who gets them and how much we're willing to pay top of market to.
Well, Jahdae, whatever you do, don't ask Odell Beckham Jr. for financial advice. That would be my suggestion to you.
Well done.
Bradford says the Titans didn't make a mistake in firing Mike Vrabel. He's great at game management and prep, but he couldn't hire a good staff. Talent overcame the coaching. He's lucky with the defensive talent present. McDaniels was available and probably won't be a head coach again.
I think Mike Vrabel has the absolute gold mine set up with a brilliant offensive coordinator that has burned every bridge that you could possibly have. Because usually it's an offensive-minded head coach with a defensive coordinator that got a shot to be a head coach once upon a time and it didn't work out. And everybody's kind of lukewarm on the idea of being a head coach. Yeah. Like Steve Spagnuolo, Jim Schwartz.
Yeah. Those guys aren't getting hired. Right. Exactly.
Right. Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Right? Those are great defensive coordinators to complement an offensive head coach because it doesn't matter how good you are, right? Like Spags has been around the block plenty.
Yeah. He's not getting a head coach.
If it was going to happen for him, it would have happened for him with all these Super Bowl runs that they had.
Right.
But Josh McDaniels is probably the lone example of an offensive version of that kind of coach.
Yeah.
He
still has some youth to him, too. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
But also, Mike Vrabel, his first two OCs were Matt LaFleur and Arthur Smith that got hired away to be head coaches. And then it was Todd Downing and Tim Kelly, and things fell off.
Yeah, they really milked that coaching. The rest of the league milked that coaching staff very quickly on the offensive side.
Very quick. Like, I mean, kind of, you can make a case that LaFleur or Smith really weren't qualified for the jobs they got when they got them.
Mm-hmm.
But this is crazy to me. Like, Mike Vrabel, the talent overcame the coaching. Are we kidding? All the missteps by John Robinson those last few years. I don't know, dude. I really don't find myself coming close to pointing my finger at Vrabel for those last two seasons in Tennessee, man. It's completely the opposite. I think the coaching overcame the talent, and if anything, and just horrible decisions by John Robinson over and over again, whether that was their drafts or the goofy moves that he made to try to get over the hump and like pass rushers and all the darts he threw. He just missed over and over and over and over again.
And they had some. I'm looking at the 12-5 team, and I know that's not the team that they had at the end, but that's
the one that he couldn't build on.
Right.
They were the one seed, right?
Yes, they were 12-5, the one seed. They'd hit the jackpot with Ryan Tannehill coming in at quarterback because there was a really good offensive line in place, and obviously Derrick Henry. The two things that Miami could not afford Ryan Tannehill during his 7 years there. He gets it in Tennessee. A.J. Brown at wide receiver, like prime A.J. Brown to go with Derrick Henry.
Trade him away.
Defensively, it's prime Harold Landry before some of the knee injuries settled in, with Jeffrey Simmons in his prime. Danico Autry's got 9 sacks that season. Danico Autry's been like one of the top 5 most underrated defensive linemen in the last 5 years, it feels like, including on this squad. Kevin Byard. You know how good like prime Kevin Byard was after like his first 2 seasons out of Middle Tennessee State?
He's still really good, man. He's an awesome player still.
So they had some big time needle moving players, and then like that plus the coaching, the tonality and the discipline and the management stuff got goofy sometimes, but like Vrabel knew the rule book really well. I think that's where you saw the drafting fall apart, and that's life cycles that build up. How many seasons was Tennessee 9-7 before that 12-5 season? Was it 5 straight years?
Yeah. How many years have they been
16,
under 500 since?
17, 9-7 and 18, 9-7 and 19. They hit the jackpot with Tannehill in that season. They kind of got hot, and then they went 11-5 and 12-5 the next 2 seasons. They had like a 6-7 year competitive window, but the drafting was bad and it fell apart. And that's what happens for the teams that can't sustain with the draft. It's about a 6-7 year window. Like, we need to normalize that.
Yep. Which that's actually an amazing segue into the next take about life cycles and 6-7 year windows. 6-7, man, they're geez, boy, right on the plate.
Nailed it.
We'll talk to you here in just a moment. Be right back. Does your daughter do the 6-7 thing?
My son, who's 2.
Your son?
He does, Dad, what's this? He does, Dad, what's this? And he just does this until somebody says it.
Oh, that's great.
He goes 6-7.
That's great. My daughter's 5 and in kindergarten, and they're not allowed to say 6-7. Like, it's a big problem if you say that at school. But if she gets home, boy, she can't wait to empty the tank. Boy, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Matt says this: the Patriots ruined our expectation for what a dynasty is by being dominant.
Yes.
As long as they were. If the Chiefs are currently falling off after 3 Super Bowls and need a retooling, that's not a failure on their part. It's part of the natural life cycle of franchises. I think one thing we need to be mindful of with the Patriots and their dynasty, they won 3 Super Bowls from 2001 to 2004. Then they won 3 more from 2014 to 2018. Yeah. Like, they had life cycles within their dynasty. And the iterations of those teams were very, very different. Early on, it was defense, defense, defense. How good is Tom Brady? Is he a system quarterback? All he does is hit checkdowns. Then it's, oh my God, this is the most prolific offense the world's ever seen. We're throwing the ball all over the place. And they became different things within that 20-year cycle. Now, their lull included 2 Super Bowl losses and plenty of playoff, runs, but they're like, hey, we're that team. It was pretty much like 3 shorter cycles that were on the beginning and end of this overall dynasty.
Yes. And it's how high of a floor can you maintain between the competitive windows? Like, I'll use Baltimore and Buffalo as 2 examples of teams that they had like peak optimized competitive windows with like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. And then the last 2 years, there's been some roster transition for both teams. At times they feel a little less shaky, like the 03 Ravens or the 23 Ravens. Excuse me.
I was going to say, Kyle, man, I don't got that one for you.
The 23 Ravens was the wagon team, right?
100%.
And then they dipped. They lost some players. There's a little bit of transition, but they'd always drafted well. So you came into this year and they made some veteran moves that ended up not working out, like Jair Alexander, but you still look at the roster and it's like they still have a really high floor, but it still wasn't how elite the 23 team felt like it was, or the 19 team felt like it was.
Yeah.
And Buffalo, it's the defensive struggles now that the trailer that is Josh Allen has elevated the rest of the roster to be able to have some success with. And I understand they're a very run-heavy offense right now, but you talked about that on the show. It's more about managing Josh to optimize his play instead of, hey, just go out there being Superman for another 16 games this year, right? And just take this ground and pound and get hurt again.
And I'd say similar to the Bills. I think their 2000 to 2022, that 3-year stretch was like that was the group, right? You had all those really good players in their prime, and they're like in a next iteration of that. And there's been missteps along the way, and maybe they're not as like dominant as they were during that 3-year stretch, but like obviously a very capable team that is anyone going to be excited if they have to play the Bills in the playoffs? I don't think so. I we'll see what happens.
So I want to talk about this Chiefs dynasty real quick. So from 13 to 2024, they win 11, 9, 11, 12, 10, 12, 12, 14, 12, 14, 11, 15 games before this season. That is half of what the Patriots did. That amount of time, the time window is half of what it was for the Patriots. So think about, the Chiefs are tailing off. As good as Kansas City's been, they're like a lock to play in the final 2 games of the season almost every year. They have to do that all over again for the same amount of time that they just did it for to equal what the Patriots did. It completely ruined.
Yeah. Well, we also, come on, the standard's not the Patriots 20-year run. It's not. No team's doing that.
I think you're right, it's not. But as far as fan bases of other teams that had to coexist with that, I think it's ruined their perception of like life in the NFL and where your team is at and what it means for your team because you're back at this spot or this team's back in front of you. It's like, yeah, man, there's 32 separate cycles that are happening at the same time where you're trying to optimize within yourself, but you're trying to sync it up with competitive windows of other teams. It's hard.
You think Patrick Mahomes has won his last Super Bowl? I don't think he has. I don't think he has. Yeah, they're not done. They're having a transition. Let's sneak this one in. Last one. Lucas says your picks episode would be better if you did blind picks. You're likely to have a little more disparity to the approval, of course, of Tim. Write them down and unveil them as you get to the game. My picks are influenced by what you say sometimes.
I'm just curious, like, does it show like properly? Okay. So like we could write it down on a piece of paper and hold it up and it would not be backwards on the screen. That's my first worry if you were to do that.
Here's example. I mean, these are my notes for today.
Yes. So it's accurate. Yeah. So right. We could in theory do this. I'm just curious about the production element of it, but
well, it's just you have to write it down.
Right. I'm just curious if there's other ways to do it, but I like this idea.
I think we need it. I think we're going to need it because it's tight, brother. We're different on one, right? If the Packers win, we're going to be one different
I'm just running my own race. I'm not worried about
I bet you are. I bet you are.
I'm just trying to pick games, you know?
Okay.
You won the last 2 years.
I think
you
I've
won
done pretty well
comfortably last year.
Yeah, I think I've had some good success. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just running my own race, you know?
I'm just saying I might have picked Minnesota. I probably went with Washington.
All right, then yeah, we have to start doing it then.
Are we idiots for picking the Cowboys last night or what?
Yeah,
Waka Flocka Taka or whatever. It's wanted to make sure we knew this morning.
We were idiots for picking him.
Yeah.
Oh, he said something.
Yeah, he said our Cowboys, and then hit Hish with the one pride.
Okay, we got to pick 280.
Hey, I just want to see your picks. Hey, send us your picks, man. Every week, I want to see them.
Yeah,
we'll make sure.
I could post a link to my against the spread on ESPN with a couple of my buddies from home, where I'm at like 89th percentile.
Let's be honest, we go like 11-4, 11-5 every week.
Yeah,
but nothing riles up a fan base more than picking against their team.
Pick them,
boy. Yeah,
it's the greatest of all sins, right?
Yeah, it's a real thing. So.
All right, well, congrats to the Lions, who have been our Lions for like 3 years, by the way.
I was actively rooting for the Lions. I like the Lions as a football team, and I love watching Cowboys fans meltdown on X. I really do. It's one of my favorite things.
Lions hater Joe Marino
I
are done for the day. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino. Hope you guys enjoyed Takes on Takes. Enjoy the rest of the football this weekend. We will talk to you all again on Monday.